Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please, Ms. Officer.
Both
I
hands.
didn't do nothing.
Put your hands up right now.
Tuesday marks 1 year since George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis. A nearly 9-minute video of his death shocked millions of people and triggered protests around the world. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin will be sentenced on June 25th after a jury convicted him of murder and manslaughter. 3 other former officers will stand trial later this year, and you just saw live pictures of Minneapolis where a march is underway. Tonight, we're joined by Lee Merritt. He is an attorney for the Floyd family. Mr. Merritt, thank you for being here on Prime.
Thank you for having me.
So, of course, George Floyd's death put police brutality in the spotlight. It became a catalyst for a racial reckoning in this country. But the world may have never known about it if it weren't for the bystanders there with cell phone cameras. How important is that component of the BLM movement that followed?
Well, it's huge. It's the democratization of transparency. We all know in order to get justice, we need to first be honest about the policing culture. And we have to have these body cameras and these images that actually show what's happening, because often police reports don't actually reflect the incident as it appears in real time. So without that body camera footage, without that cell phone footage, George Floyd could have very well have gone down as someone who died during some drug incident while resisting arrest. And luckily, because that cell phone footage that the world saw, instead, the narrative is the correct narrative, which was an example of excessive force by not only Chauvin, but several officers in the Minneapolis Police Department.
And those officers are also set to stand trial for violating Floyd's civil rights. What are you expecting in those cases?
Well, we expect, again, for the Constitution to be upheld. Once officers' behavior gets away from their training and it becomes excessive, then the Fourth Amendment comes into play. Everyone has a right to be free from unlawful searches and seizures. And when officers abuse their power in this way, in such an extreme way, as the officers did in the case of George Floyd, then they have to answer for the state criminal charges, which we saw in the Chauvin trial, but also for the federal violations, because all citizens enjoy the same protections under the United States Constitution.
So the mayor of Minneapolis says he wants to galvanize all of this pain into what he calls real progress. What does real progress look like?
Well, that's a great question coming up a year after the death of George Floyd, because what we see in the death of George Floyd is not only a standout event, some sort of anomaly in policing culture, but we see a manifestation of the deadliest police culture in the modern world. Real change means that America would not continue to lead the industrialized world in incidences of force. And I don't think that we're going to see a reduction in the use of force among American policing until we get into the underlying culture of mass incarceration. The law enforcement officers have been incentivized economically to keep our prisons filled, the largest prison industrial complex in human history. And so in order to really see significant long-term change, we have to get to the heart of the problem, which when we start using terms like racial reckoning, dealing with the long ghost of, or I shouldn't even call it ghost, because that gives it the appearance that it's not existing today, but the very real structural issues of racism and mass incarceration in the United States.
Well, one of the responses has been, right, of the BLM movement and of these deaths has been the defund the police movement, which some interpret as reallocating resources and funds to mental health and social services, but others interpret it as stripping the police of resources and power. And I've spoken to people in Minneapolis, activists of color, who say that's not the answer. They say they need the police there to make them feel safe, and that crime has gone up in Minneapolis since cuts to the department. What is the solution as far as the defund the police movement?
I guess if we can move the conversation away from defunding, although I think it's an inaccurate adjective, if we put it in terms that maybe people have a easier time understanding, like demilitarizing. The idea is that if George Floyd was suspected of a crime, and we needed law enforcement to keep, say, stores from being defrauded from money, what we need in that situation is not a militarized police officer with a gun on his hip addressing the citizen who is a suspect in a way where he's intending to incarcerate them. But you have a citizen who allegedly is using a $20 bill a counterfeit $20 bill to pay for food or for drink. Maybe that citizen is someone who is in need of human health services. Maybe Floyd, which turned out to be the case, is struggling with a drug issue that if it wasn't criminalized and stigmatized, our government, the Minneapolis, not only police, but the city of Minneapolis could provide recovery services. And I think most people, this is not a partisan concern, most people would say, no, that's right. We want drugs to be treated not so much as a criminal thing, but as an opioid crisis, as it is in Caucasian neighborhoods or in suburban neighborhoods, that we're looking for different ways to fight a war. So far, we've called the war on drugs something that needed to be dealt with as a criminal issue. But if we begin to reimagine fighting this war on drugs with the resources that people struggling with addiction, poverty, and mental health need in order to overcome the grips of drugs, maybe our nation can see its way past this era.
How will history remember the death of George Floyd and the developments that have followed?
I think the history will remember the death of George Floyd as a turning point. I think it's important to remember that the original civil rights movement of the 60s and 70s wasn't a year in the making. It wasn't a year of protest, but it was decades of protest, organizing, growth, policy change. And so I think what George Floyd will be the tip of the spear or the crest of the wave of a new movement. And so I expect either extreme policy changes in the next a couple of months and years, or for us to continue to see protests and voter empowerment to address the policies of this, the longstanding policies of this nation that have facilitated this culture. We need to watch them dismantled, and I think George Floyd will be the beginning.
And the community still very much reeling from that death. We just saw live pictures of a march underway in Minneapolis right now ahead of the one-year anniversary on Tuesday. Mr. Merritt, thank you very much for making the time for us tonight.
Thank you.